All right. My name is Keith Nagel. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to tell you my God story. It's the time when God talked to me. He called me by name. And I want to emphasize that when I'm talking to you, that God knows all our names. He knows us, every thought, every desire that we have in our lifetimes. He doesn't ignore anything we want or say or anything. Anyway, I don't know if I can do this again. I just don't have it.
You do. You can do it.
All right. All right, it was the 4th of July weekend, about 19 years ago. So my son Brian was killed. He was shot. And I just gotten back from Telluride, Colorado. And I was a salesman on the road. Gone a lot of the time. We were out in the backyard having a little barbecue. And my son Brian came back and said that he and his buddies wanted to go up to Santa Fe, up above Pecos, and party on the river. And I said, well, sounds a little dangerous. Why don't you stay in town and just party around here? So he liked to party. He drank, smoked, and enjoyed life. Well, it was about 12 o'clock, and the phone rang. We got the phone call that nobody ever wants to hear. It said that Brian's been shot. Do you know where Bob lives? I remember throwing on our clothes, and he lived about 2 blocks away, and driving down there, and that panicky feeling, just saying, God, no, please God, please God. We were begging him. And I remember pulling up to the house, and there were about probably 10 cop cars there, and people standing all around. We're going up to the door, and I didn't really know where Bob's place was, but since the cops were all standing there, I knew that was the place. And we were trying to get into the, it was like a duplex, I guess. Trying to get into the little patio door. And the cop said, you can't come in here. It's a crime scene. And I said, I want to pray with my boy. I said, no. I said, I'm going in there. And I started plowing through the door. I'm a pretty good-sized guy. I thought I could get in, I guess. And the cops jumped me. They just immobilized me. Put a billy club underneath my throat. Held me back. I remember struggling. And then they handcuffed me and really pretty well manhandled me and put me in the police car. And we were sitting in the back of the police car looking out, praying to God, please may him be okay. Well, we're seeing Tony, my wife, pacing back and forth, looking so sad and so lonely, and I wanted to be with her. And I asked the cop if I get out. And he did. He let me out of the cop car. I said, behave. I remember going over to Tony and holding her. I remember getting down on my hands and knees and praying right in the street. Didn't care what anybody thought. I was begging God to have him be okay. Begging him. Just begging him. Pretty soon they brought him out. And he was on a stretcher, and they had these rubber pants on there, gray, and they're full of air. And he has just a small bandage around his head. and a little bit of blood coming out. And we're taking his hand and saying, Daddy's here, everything's going to be okay. And then they wheeled him around, popped him into the back of the ambulance. I remember looking into the back of the ambulance through that little window they have, and they were working on him. I remember begging God, please have me okay. And then I remembered about President Reagan being shot, and Mr. Brady. This was probably a while after that happened, because I remember Mr. Brady was all couldn't move and he had brain damage. And I remember asking God, telling him, if Brian's got brain damage, take him now. And I remember seeing his chest raised 3 times, and I saw him die. And then the neat thing I remember, though, is at this point, I remember as he left the house, I said, thank you for not leaving town. Thank you for staying here. And I gave him a big old hug and said, I love you. He said, I love you, Dad. I'm glad I had that time. So if you ever get a chance to tell your kids you love them, don't hesitate. You can't tell them you love them enough. They asked us to, they wanted to take him to the hospital. So I wanted to drive out there myself, but they said no. You should go with the chaplain. It was a police chaplain. And we were driving out to Presbyterian Hospital. And going into the front door, it was all dark. And waiting in the lobby. I was sort of numb. I just couldn't believe it happened. I knew he was dead, but I thought they'd come out, hoping they'd come out and say he's okay, or he's working on him or something. But I knew he was dead. And they came out and they told me he was dead. So I remember the chaplain driving my wife and I back to the house. Never did figure out. I can't remember how my car got back up to the house afterwards. We were going into the house, and there were some people there. My mother-in-law was there, and some other people. I don't know can't remember who they were. I remember sitting on the steps and just so sad. I mean, I just couldn't believe what happened. Just hoping it was a nightmare. I remember a feeling if I could just get to sleep, everything would be okay. Because I was tired. I was so tired. And we're going up and going to bed, and I fell went to sleep. And I woke up. And it wasn't a nightmare. I knew it wasn't a nightmare. I knew it happened. Before that, I remember going into the son's bedroom and telling him what happened. Telling him Brian had been shot and killed. The look on his face. He's so sad. He was 14, 13, something like that. And they were close. Brian was his idol. He looked up to him. He says, And he couldn't cry. I remember he just sort of had a funny look on his face, just like a scream, but no sound. And I don't remember telling my daughter. She was 9.